Simply Explained, The Century of the Self. 5-part series for quick learning or a lesson to put you to sleep. Century of Self. Bonus episode, Political Marketing and the Selling of the Candidate. The bonus episode shows how psychological research and marketing of the individual have deeply shaped not only how people shop, but also how they think, feel, and act in politics and society. Marketing research drew on behavioral psychology and social science to understand why people act how they do, not just what they buy. This blurred the line between consumer choice and identity formation, turning purchasing and later political allegiance into a form of self-expression. The politics of the 1970s fragmented from collective movements like workers' rights into a politics based on individual experience and identity, such as feminism, gay rights. The core belief was that the personal can be made political. Politics became branded, and candidates became products to be sold. Voting became an act of identity and emotion rather than civic deliberation. Voter segmentation, like consumer segmentation, allowed politicians to target specific demographics. Citizens can be treated more as targets than participants. Persuasion replaced deliberation. Focus groups in consumer democracy. Political strategists, most notably those working for Margaret Thatcher and Bill Clinton, realized they could use the same techniques market researchers used. Instead of leading, politicians would use focus groups to find out what people felt and then reflect those feelings back to them. Politics became about connecting with voters' inner emotional lives, not about presenting a rational program. The inner child, the self-help movement of the 1980s and 90s, which focused on healing the wounded inner child, encouraged people to look inward for all answers. This created a population focused on their own emotional well-being, making collective political action difficult. The final irony. The series concludes by arguing that the century-long project to control the irrational masses by appealing to the inner self has culminated in a new, perhaps more frightening, form of power. We are now encouraged to see ourselves as consumers whose ultimate goal is self-fulfillment, while real power, corporate and political, remains unchallenged. We are happiness machines in a system that manages us by telling us to express ourselves. In essence, the Century of the Self is the story of how the radical, destabilizing discovery of the unconscious mind was systematically harnessed, commodified, and turned into the most powerful tool of social control in the modern era. The idea that we must be true to our inner, authentic self. My final summation on the self. Psychological research and the marketing of consumer goods have profoundly influenced how individuals behave in politics and society. Beginning in the early 20th century, marketers drew on insights from psychology to understand and manipulate consumer desires. Figures such as Edward Bernays, often called the father of public relations, applied Freudian ideas about the unconscious mind to advertising, suggesting that products could satisfy emotional and symbolic needs rather than purely practical ones. This approach transformed consumption into a form of self-expression, teaching people to associate goods with identity, status, and belonging. These same psychological techniques soon migrated into the political realm. By the 1950s and 1960s, politicians and campaign strategists adopted the tools of commercial advertising, emotional appeals, image management, and demographic targeting to sell candidates much like consumer brands. Television and later digital media amplified this shift, allowing campaigns to craft messages that appeal to voters' emotions and biases rather than their reasoned judgment. In the age of social media and big data, this has evolved into micro-targeted persuasion, where individuals receive personalized political content designed to reinforce their existing beliefs and emotional triggers. The broader effects on society have been far-reaching. As marketing blurred the boundaries between consumption, identity, and citizenship, people came to see themselves less as participants in a shared public life and more as individual consumers of political and cultural products. Emotional and symbolic appeals now dominate both advertising and political discourse, often at the expense of deliberation and critical thought. As a result, psychological research, originally aimed at understanding human behavior, has helped create a society where persuasion, image, and desire shape not only what we buy, but also what we believe and how we act as citizens. Thanks for listening. Remember, what you let into your world will affect what comes out of your world. Pay attention to what you see and understand what you are doing. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.